I'm joined now by the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia. Thanks for joining me.
Sure thing.
So we are right now in the midst of this shutdown. First and foremost, I want to talk about the main issue at the center of this thing, and that is that Democrats are using what little leverage they have to try and force Republicans to extend ACA subsidies. So can you explain why ACA subsidies need to be extended, why Republicans won't bite, and what they're saying to distract from the reality of the situation right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think first, let's be really clear. The government shutdowns aren't they don't help anybody, right? I mean, real people can be harmed when this actually happens, and this is all on Donald Trump. He has been so obsessed in the last year in these tax breaks for billionaires, in essentially destroying our healthcare system, that he's bring us to this point. This is where we're at because of his actions and the inaction of House Republicans. What this fight is about is Democrats are saying enough. Enough with the cuts to healthcare. And because we are not in the majority, we have right now the ability to stop some of these horrific cuts that people are going to see to their healthcare programs. What's happened right now is over the last few years, the Affordable Care Act, which, as we know, so many folks across the country are on. The ACA, depending on what state you are, it's called your state healthcare system. There is a subsidy in place to ensure that your premiums on your insurance are lower or have lowered. If these subsidies expire, what's going to happen is people's insurance essentially is going to go up. Your healthcare costs are going to go up if Donald Trump does not agree to extend these ACA credits, these subsidies that are in place right now. And so people need to understand what that means. Over the next few weeks, folks that are watching this across the country, your healthcare premiums are going to go up, and you're going to be receiving letters explaining that over the next few months, that's what's going to happen. And so people can't afford groceries, the rent, their cost, of course, for housing. And certainly healthcare is already too expensive. And so that's why we're in this fight. We should not be giving Republicans one single vote to advance their agenda.
I know this is going to be a bizarre question, but why is Trump and Republicans, why are they so hell-bent on making sure, like this would be an issue that would benefit them? Presumably, with Trump in charge of the government, with Republicans in charge of the government, they would not want to preside over a period where healthcare costs can rise as much as 75 to 100%. And so why are they so hell-bent right now on making sure that this doesn't happen? It seems like it would benefit them to actually make sure to extend these subsidies.
It would not only benefit everyone politically for Republicans. Of course, they should not want to have people, their own constituents, see their healthcare costs go up. In some cases, Brian, if you are on an Affordable Care Act plan in your own state, you could see essentially your premiums double, which is going to happen in some cases. And It's certainly going to go up in many others. And so this is a real issue for so many folks that are struggling and getting by month to month. And so we don't understand just their stubbornness here. Look, I think what this is really about, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, the folks at the White House, they actually don't believe in government subsidized healthcare. They actually don't believe that government have a role in providing health and assistance, emergency services to folks across this country. They think, oh, just leave it up to them and a private insurance process, let their workplace handle it. That's not the way things work. That's not the social safety net that this country and the American people deserve. And so we got to fight like hell. And look, I'm pissed that there's Senate Democrats right now that aren't fighting on this issue, that are caving in right now to giving Trump these votes. We shouldn't give them a single vote. And I completely opposed the direction that Chuck Schumer took in the last negotiation process. And so we want to ensure that Leader Schumer and those Senate Democrats stay in line and don't give Trump a single vote.
You know, one of the ways that they're giving themselves cover right now is to claim, because it would be so politically unpopular to say, yes, we as Republicans don't think that anybody should get ACA subsidies. We're fine with having healthcare costs as much as double as soon as you have to re-up your ACA coverage. And so the cover they're giving themselves is, well, we couldn't possibly come to the negotiating table because Democrats are trying to extend health coverage to illegal aliens. So can you give a very clear answer as to whether this is true or not?
Absolutely not true. And let's be really clear. I mean, I just saw an interview where Mike Johnson basically just lied to the camera. People need to understand the facts. You can look this up yourselves. This is just the truth, folks. Right now in the United States, non-citizens do not get access to those Medicare benefits. They don't get Social Security. They're not receiving, if you're the Affordable Care Act benefits that others are receiving. The federal government does not pay for these non-citizen benefits. There are some states, by the way, in the state process that may choose to help folks in their states, but that's on the states. That is not a federal government program. And what Republicans are actually zeroing in on is something that is so shameful and inhumane. What the United States does provide and has provided is if you are someone in this country and you are at an emergency room, you show up and you have been stabbed in the chest and you're bleeding to death. If you show up to an emergency room, it is responsibility of that hospital to help you out, regardless of who you are, including, by the way, if you are a non-citizen. That is common sense and is the right thing to do. What Republicans are saying is that if you are a non-citizen and you have been stabbed or shot, or your child has fallen and is bleeding from the head, that if you show up to an emergency room, you should not get the support and be treated and have any type of coverage in that instance. That is crazy. But the broader issue that they are making about somehow that our programs, the ACA, Medicaid, that somehow we are giving those programs and providing illegal immigrants to access those, it's just false.
Right. There is another contingent of Republicans who are saying just pass a clean CR, don't include ACA subsidies, relinquish the leverage that you have right now to get the government back open, and we'll come and negotiate afterwards to extend ACA subsidies, but let's just get the government open in the meantime. What do you say to those people?
No, I'm an absolute no. And I think that Democrats need to have a spine here. And we need to be very firm that we're not going to advance in any way Trump's agenda. Trump is out there terrorizing communities with ICE. He's out there rounding up people, sometimes U.S. citizens. He is putting out militia and our National Guard and our military on American streets. He's denying people health care. He's shutting down our government programs. And they're expecting us to continue to support that while healthcare premiums are going to go up. That's a hell no for me. And so we should not be providing any votes to Donald Trump's agenda. And I understand shutdowns are hard and real people are going to be impacted, but they will also be impacted when their health premiums double.
So you're not buying this idea that the party that just cut $1 trillion from healthcare, that's presided over rural hospital closures, and that stripped Medicaid away from 17 million Americans is not going to operate in good faith and just voluntarily come to the negotiating table to extend ACA subsidies after eliminating those subsidies in the budget bill that they just passed a couple of months ago?
I mean, you just said it right there. I mean, exactly. Right. I mean, you cannot trust. Why anyone would put trust in Donald Trump or their word or Mike Johnson is insane. Give me a break. We can't negotiate with these people. They don't want, all they've done is harm the American public. So why should we be funding a government that is set up to terrorize the American public? And I think that what we've got to focus on at this moment is we have some leverage here to get Republicans and Trump to agree to continue these subsidies for these healthcare programs for so many folks across the country. That's our focus. We should stay in that fight.
I completely agree. That said, there is the risk that Donald Trump could do what he says he can do, which is use this shutdown to try and wield the federal government as a cudgel against the states, against his political opponents, while the shutdown is happening. And so already they've deprived New York City of funding for projects that were ongoing, and this is at the hands of Russ Vought, who is the author of Project 2025. And so this seems to be a way that he can counter the leverage that the Democrats have right now. And so to what extent are you concerned about the damage that he'll be able to bring about by virtue of having no oversight since the rest of the federal government is closed?
Yeah, I mean, look, when a bully punches you in the face, you don't turn around and walk away or try to negotiate with the bully to not punch you again. You got to punch back. And I think this idea that somehow we should just allow Donald Trump or be scared of what he's going to do, those days have to be over. And I think that
because he's gonna do these things anyway. Like this notion that we can't push back because they're gonna be abusive. They're already being abusive.
The country and certainly progressives, liberals, our party, they're demanding a new Democratic Party. And that party has to be centered on fight. It has to be centered on actually opposing Trump and bringing the same level of energy and opposition that you're seeing on the ground from people. And so I just think that we have to stop playing by the old rules, which is why I really, really support bringing in new voices, bringing in new folks to the party, which is why I'm grateful that younger voices to the party are now at the leadership table, because we've got to continue to push this message. And I think right now, let's not support Donald Trump. Let's not negotiate with someone that has no interest for us and for the American public. And let's stick to this fight. This healthcare fight is a good fight.
Right. Couldn't have said it better. Congressman, appreciate your time today, and thanks for the fight.
Thank you, man.